Thank you, band. Don't you have some amazing musicians? I know you're at home clapping right now. Martha Yorty, Scott Smith, and Nick Ganoyak. Did I say it right? Awesome. Thank you. And we have the amazing Robert Anderson here as our musical inspiration this morning. So we are truly blessed. So welcome, welcome, welcome to Unity Spiritual Center Denver and our Sunday morning service. My name is David Howard, and I'm the senior minister here at this beautiful community. If you are joining us for the first time, we greatly appreciate you spending part of your day with us. We're so glad to have you here. And I want you to know that Unity Spiritual Center Denver is a loving, welcoming, open, and inclusive community. And very soon, we will be opening these doors, and we hope if you're in the Denver area that you will join us here in our space. So I want to share with you a couple of things. If you would like to keep up with what's going on here at Unity Spiritual Center Denver, please sign up to receive our newsletter. You can go to our website, which is unitydenver.org, and page all the way down to the bottom of the home screen, and right there on the bottom is a newsletter sign up. Click on that and sign up, and you'll get a weekly newsletter on Fridays. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss anything. If you're watching on Facebook, we invite you to please like our page again so that you're notified, or set up notifications for this service so that you know every Sunday morning when we start a service. And if you'd like more information about us, we would love to have you send us an email at info@unitydenver.org. Give us your information, and we'll be glad to contact you. And we'd love to know that you're watching. We'd love to know that you're a part of our community now. And if you have any questions about Unity Spiritual Center Denver, we would love to answer those for you. So now I would invite you all to join me as we say our creed, which is, our God is love, our race is human, our faith is oneness. And now the reading I want to share with you this morning comes from The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer. Michael Singer is also the best-selling author of The Untethered Soul. So I highly recommend both of his books. And this is actually at the very beginning of the book. He says this: life rarely unfolds exactly as we want it to. And if we stop and think about it, that makes perfect sense. The scope of life is universal. And the fact that we are not actually in control of life's events should be self-evident. The universe has been around for 13.8 billion years, and the processes that determine the flow of life around us did not begin when we were born, nor will they end when we die. What manifests in front of us at any given moment is actually something truly extraordinary. It is the end result of all the forces that have been interacting together for billions of years. We are not responsible for even the tiniest fraction of what is manifesting around us. Nonetheless, we walk around constantly trying to control and determine what will happen in our lives. No wonder there's so much tension, anxiety, and fear. Each of us actually believes that things should be the way we want them, instead of being the natural result of all the forces of creation. What would happen if we respected the flow of life and used our free will to participate in what's unfolding instead of fighting it? What would be the quality of life that unfolds? Would it just be random events with no order or meaning? Or would the same perfection of order and meaning that manifests in the rest of the universe manifest in the everyday life around us? Good questions. So I invite you now to join Robert as he leads us in singing Surely the Presence, and then we'll lead into a time of prayer.
I can feel the mighty power and the grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place.
So I invite you now to settle in where you are. If you're in a place where it's safe and comfortable for you to do so, I invite you to close your eyes. Knowing that we close our outer eyes to remove our focus from the things of the world, the things that are happening around us. And as we close our outer eyes, we open our inner eyes, the eyes of spirit, the eyes of faith, the eyes of the Christ that see the truth, that only see the truth that is resonating and living itself in this moment as you and as me and as all humanity and indeed all creation. That one life, that universal flow of life that is living itself as we open ourselves up to the realization of it, allowing it to have its life in us and through us and as us. We surrender into that life, into the flow, and know and trust that we are guided and directed in the flow of all the highest good that we can possibly imagine. Because it is that life within us that is the good, is the love, is the peace, is the joy, is the prosperity, is the wholeness, is all of those ideas that we can possibly want to experience. And so as we let go of our outer focus, we let go of trying to control, we let go of thinking that we have to do it, we allow, as our master teacher Jesus said, knowing that it's not I, but it is the Father, the life, the Christ, the universal flow within that does the work, does everything through me, as me. And in that awareness, in the flow of that life, we know our wholeness, we know our joy, we know our love. We know that that is what we are, and we know that that is our truth. And as we know it for ourselves, we know it for each other. We see it for each other. We claim it for each other. And we support each other in remembering that truth. And right now, I invite you to hold in your mind, in your heart, anyone, any situation that might be someone who might be experiencing some difficulty, some challenge, some imbalance in their lives, or some situation in the world that you want to hold in the consciousness of oneness, the consciousness of love, the consciousness of peace and joy and prosperity, wholeness. Bring them to your mind, and together, in the consciousness of that oneness, we hold them. We uplift each situation, each person into the light of that truth, claiming and knowing with them and for them that that is their truth as well. And knowing that as we embrace it, as we let go and allow that flow lives itself perfectly in each one. So we release this prayer knowing, claiming that it is so. As we allow it to be, so it becomes, and so it is. Amen.
Sadness in the voices of my friends, talking about this world and its pain. But we must not lose heart, we cannot give up hope, for long have we journeyed, waiting for this day. These times seem so uncertain, so unkind. But this path makes us stronger, the higher we climb. We were made for these times. Let us turn our fears into courage, into faith, our greed to generosity. We can give our anger to love's compassion and move this injustice toward peace and unity. These times seem so uncertain, so unkind. But this path makes us stronger, the higher we climb. We were made for these times. Didn't we say we are believers? Didn't we ask for grace? We must remember right now we are needed to stand and shine our light in this hour, in this place. These times seem so uncertain, so unkind. But this path makes us stronger, higher we climb. We were made for these times, these times. These times seem so uncertain, so unkind. We shall use our voices, we will not walk blind. We were made for these times. Ooh, our hearts were made for these times.
Thank you, Robert. Did you write that? I love that. Beautiful song. Thank you. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here. I want you to take a little journey with me this morning. I want you to ignite your power of imagination and imagine that you are having this experience that I want to describe for you this morning. Imagine that you have some friends who have told you about this wonderful restaurant experience, this new restaurant that has opened. And it's an amazing experience that they had when they went there. And they want you to go try it out. So you get on the phone and you call and you make a reservation. And of course it's booked for a long time out, but you get a reservation. You have to wait a while. And so you're excited about going to this restaurant to have this experience. Now let me back up a little bit. This has to be post-pandemic, right? So we're not really going out to restaurants right now. But let's say it's post-pandemic. So you're going to this restaurant and you're excited. The night finally arrives. You're going to this restaurant. You pull up in front of the restaurant to the valet station. Nobody there. You wait. Cars behind you are honking. Get out of the way. I need to go where I need to go. So you say, okay, well, I've got to go find a place or I'm going to be late. So you drive around. No place is to be found. You finally drive around again, and finally there's a place for you to park. You're like, oh my gosh, finally I'm going to be late. I'm going to miss my reservation. So you finally get a place to park. You walk into the restaurant. Nobody there to greet you. There's nobody, no maitresse d' or maitre d' there to wait you and to seat you. So you just stand around and think, well, what's going on here? What's happening? There's nobody here. And so you wait and wait for a while. You think about maybe just leaving, right? But you've heard of such a great experience. So you want to have this experience. So finally somebody walks up and says, can I help you? You say, yeah, I have a reservation. What's your name? Tell them your name. Oh, you're late. You missed your time. What do you mean I missed my time? I was here on time, but I couldn't find a parking place and blah, 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 blah. You try to make all these excuses, and they say, okay, well, let me see what I can do. So they say, okay, well, we have one table available. So they take you back to this table, all the way back in the back of the restaurant, right by the restrooms. So you have to deal with that smell the whole time you're sitting there. Nobody comes to the table. Nobody brings you water. Nobody brings you a menu. So you're sitting there fuming. What's going on here? I thought this was supposed to be a great experience. Finally, you get up and say, hey, can I have some service here? So somebody finally comes over and says, plops the water down on your table, gives you a menu. So you look at the menu and say, finally, I'm ready to order. So the waiter comes over to your table and says, what would you like? You tell him, oh, we're out of that. We don't have any more of that. Well, what about that? No, we're out of that. Well, just bring me what you have. So you finally get your food, and it's cold. And you're like, what is going on here? You finally say, okay, I've had enough. You get up, go up to the front of the desk and say, who's in charge here? I demand to speak to the manager. Manager finally comes up. You wait another few minutes. A manager comes up and says, may I help you? You say, yes, who is in charge of this mess here? Nothing has gone wrong, and you begin to list, nothing has gone right. You begin to list everything that happened since you got there. And the manager says, hey, isn't that great? And you say, what? What do you mean, isn't that great? He said, oh, I thought you understood what you were signing up for. That's why we named this restaurant Life. You don't always get what you want. You don't always get what you expect. That's the experience that we want you to have here. So, who's in charge here? Well, when I think about that, I'm thinking about that's the way life is, as Singer says. You know, we have all these expectations about life. We have the way we want life to unfold, and if it doesn't unfold that way, we get anxious, we get fearful, we get upset, and we think we need to be in control of this life. And the reality is we're not in control. But how can we, even in light of that, even in the light of the experience of life, what can we be in control of? I shared with you a few weeks ago that I participated in this 5-week experience online with Scott Stabile back in the end of November and through December. And it was about an intention, setting an intention primarily. That was at the outset. So I set this log intention. But by the end of the 5 weeks, my intention had become a very short statement. And that statement is, I am taking charge of my life. Now, when I said that, set that as my intention, I realized that's a pretty broad intention. How do I take charge of my life? How do any of us take charge of our lives? So today I want to talk about that from 4 different angles: spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically. How do we take charge of our lives? And the paradox is that to take charge of our lives spiritually, we must surrender. Now, I'm not talking about giving up. I'm not talking about giving in. But it's more about giving it over. Recognizing that there is so much that I am not in control of. That, as Singer talked about, the universe has been around for billions of years, and everything is in this flow and order. As Charles Fillmore said, order is the first law of the universe. Everything is flowing in order, and if I am willing to be able to surrender to that flow, then I can allow myself to release myself from a whole lot of stress and anxiety. I do believe that there is a greater intelligence than the one that I am operating with in this body. That there is a higher mind, so to speak, and a higher heart that we can surrender into and to trust. There's something bigger than I am. As Jesus said, it is not my limited idea of who I am that is usually based in my physical experience. It is not that I that does the work. It is not that I that speaks. It is that higher I, the I that is, that we can surrender into. As the example we have of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he's about to be crucified, and he's praying, and he's praying, and he's praying. And he finally says, if it be the higher will, take this from me. I don't really want to do this. However, not my will, but thy will, the higher will be done. We are in service to something that is much higher and bigger and broader than we are individually. And so I see that as surrendering to the Spirit, to the life within us, the universal flow of life. So taking charge of my life and you taking charge of your life begins, I believe, with surrender, spiritually. How do we do that emotionally? When we see in our lives, in our personal lives,
Things don't go the way we want them to go quite often. Things happen in our lives that we would not have planned. Things happen that we would really not prefer that they not happen. I mean, the pandemic is a great example. We're not in control of. It happens. We can have our feelings about it. We sometimes get ill. People are dealing with illnesses, physical illnesses. People are dealing with loss of jobs. People are dealing with financial issues, relationship issues. We all experience those things that go on in our lives that we would not plan, but they happen. And we have an emotional reaction to that. And as Michael Singer talks about in The Untethered Soul, it's important for us to process through those feelings, feel those feelings, or else that energy gets stuck. Feel the feelings, but don't get stuck in the feelings. Don't let the emotions control you. We learn in the metaphysical interpretation of the creation story that we are created as the image likeness of that allness that is. And in this human experience, we have dominion. Give them dominion, it says in that scripture. We will give them dominion over the things of the earth. Metaphysically, we understand that to mean we have dominion over our thinking and over our feeling. We don't have control over a lot of things, but we have power over what we choose to think and how we feel. So feel the feelings, but we recognize, as A Course in Miracles tells us, as Jesus through the A Course in Miracles tells us, that there are two emotions really. There's love and there's fear. We call it many different things, but there's love and there's fear. And if I'm not in the energy of love, then I'm in some aspect of fear. Whether that's anxiety or stress or worry or doubt, they're all demonstrations of fear. Well, what brings up that fear for us? At the very core of fear is the idea of separation. Separation from God, separation from each other, and separation or perceived separation from our good. We fear because something happens in our lives, an illness, so to speak. And we have fear because we believe that we are being separated from our wholeness, separated from our well-being. We have relationship issues, and we fear because we fear that we are being separated from love or something that brings us love. We fear if we lose our jobs because we're afraid that we're being separated from abundance and prosperity. And the truth of that is that we can never be separated from those things because there's only one source of those things. God, the life energy, the universal flow, is the only source of any of those things. So we're never separate from that. Where are we looking for our good? In the world out there? Or are we connecting with the flow of that life that is within us? Can we take charge of ourselves enough, our lives, enough to be in that flow? I was reminded, as I was thinking about the talk today, about the Psalm 121. And you might have heard me quote from this book before. It's called Opening to You. It's Zen-inspired translations of the Psalms by Norman Fisher. And I really enjoy some of these translations of the Psalms. But this one really spoke to me in this respect of being separated. Where am I looking for my good? I lift my eyes to the mountain peak. Where does my help come from? It comes from you, maker of heaven and earth, who holds my foot firm on the path up, who's constantly present, everywhere aware. Look, with you there's no obscurity. Nothing is dim, asleep, inert. To those who question and struggle, you respond. Keep hold, give cover, so that by day the sun won't burn, nor by night the moon mesmerize. You guard against evil, enfold and reveal the soul. Guard my arrival, secure my departure now, always. And that really spoke to me in that respect of, I look to many different things in the world for my good sometimes. But I can take charge of my life by being aware of when I'm doing that and making a conscious decision to come back. Because being in that place of knowing that it is the Lord, the self-existent life within me and within you that is the source of all of that. And when I know that, and when you know that, there's nothing to fear. I hope that is making sense. I hope that is really, I hope I'm making that clear. Because I really feel that. I feel when I get into fear, and I fear when I'm having a financial concern and I'm reaching for something out there to provide what I need. Because I think I'm separated from my prosperity, from my good. And my option in taking charge of my life is to remove my focus from out there, at least temporarily. Go within. Where am I looking for my help? I look within. And I allow that voice within to inspire me, to inspire my words and my actions, and to move me toward my highest and best good, to what will satisfy my perceived financial need, or relational need, or employment need, or whatever that is. So our opportunity is to come back to that and be in that place of love. It takes some self-awareness. It takes some checking in. But that's part of taking charge of our lives, being aware of where we are in that. Mentally, we take charge of our lives by paying attention to our thoughts, first of all. As Singer said in the book, in the reading I shared, we often are in this place of, well, I want it to be that way. It should be that way. They should be doing that. They shouldn't be doing that. Oh my gosh. And it's simple sometimes. It's thinking, well, it better not rain today. Are you in control of the rain? And so we create anxiety and pressure and confusion for ourselves when we are in this place of thinking that things should be different than they are. Byron Katie, the work of Byron Katie says, and I've quoted this before, she says, when you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. You lose. Anthony DeMello, a Jesuit priest, said that enlightenment is absolute cooperation with the inevitable. Absolute cooperation with the inevitable, and the only inevitability is what is happening in the moment. What is happening in the moment? Our opportunity is to question our thinking, to explore and inquire about these thoughts that are creating this confusion and this worry and this doubt that we have. Now, let me just say this. It doesn't mean that we just sit back and think, well, everything is just the way it's supposed to be. There's nothing I can do about it. There are things that we might want to change in our lives. Things the flow of us might be moving us into something different. And our opportunity is to listen to that. But if we're in this place of just all this doubt and worry and fear and this should be, that shouldn't be, and all of the things that go on for us, what are we going to create? How are we going to move forward? Fear. We'll be in fear, and we're going to be creating more fear, and we're going to be creating from this place of fear, and fear begets fear. If we can come back to that place of centeredness, questioning our thinking, being fully present with what is right here and right now, in a calm space, then we can listen more clearly. Our minds are more clear. I've heard this analogy of, you drop a stone into a raging water and it makes no impact. You can't see any impact. But when the water is calm and you drop that stone in there, you see the effect that it has, the ripples that it makes. Same thing with our minds. We still our minds. When they're raging, there's nothing that can come in. Nothing can make an imprint. But when we're still, and we're calm, and we're at peace, then we can be inspired. How do we take charge of our lives physically? Again, there are some things that we do. As Eric Butterworth says, you can pray all you want, but God's not going to bring the food to your door. Well, that's not necessarily true today, is it? We do get food delivered to our door, right? I have the food delivered to my door every week. But there's somebody that's doing that, right? God is using something or someone to bring that to your door, right? So we do, physically, there are things that we do to take charge of our lives. If we're experiencing some illness, we get into that place of, okay, this is what is happening. Emotionally, we try to get in that place of love without being in that place of, I'm fearful of this. We come back to that. We come back and think, our minds, this shouldn't be happening to me. And come back to a still place. And then we can be inspired to what action to take. It's inspired action. So it may be, if you're experiencing illness, it may be going to a doctor. It may be doing alternative treatments. It could be changing your diet. It could be all sorts of different things, energy healing. Whatever you're guided to do personally, then you do that. If you're experiencing some sort of financial situation in your life, you might win the lottery. I keep trying. But sometimes we have to make choices, conscious choices, to curtail our spending or to find other avenues for income. There are practical things that we do. Relationship issues are the same way. Do we want to stay in communication? We want to go to a therapist, a counselor. So there are things we do when we take charge of our lives. It doesn't mean that things are just going to fall all into place magically. Sometimes there are things we do. So when we take charge of our lives, we surrender. We take charge of our lives. We choose consciously to be aware of where we are emotionally. And if we're in fear, do everything that we can to come back to love. To take charge of our lives, if we notice that we are thinking all of these thoughts about judging and criticizing and everything should be different than it is, can we come back to that place of just being present in the moment with what is happening and find some peace there and then be inspired to take some action. The other aspect I want to address about taking charge of our lives is more on a global, I guess really a global perspective. I know that we look at the world around us sometimes. We look at what's going on in the world. So many things happening, and we think, who is in charge here? I want to speak to the manager, right? What is this chaos that is happening in the world? So I think very much the same thing applies. How do I take charge when I'm not in control? How do I take charge of my experience when I'm not in control of everything that happens in the world out there? Again, spiritually, I think we can make a choice to see that, and this is my choice, and so I'm just inviting you to maybe play with it, that everything that happens in the world around us that may appear dark and evil and disruptive, and let me just say this, it's not that I'm really perfected it, but that I choose to perceive it as an opportunity for us to awaken to where we are living from fear, and an opportunity to call us back to love. I don't believe there is a God out there who controls us like puppets, but that freely allows us to open to the experience of love, gives us the free will to say yes to love or not. And when we're saying yes to love, which is our truth, which is the truth of the divine within us, then we're in the flow of that love, and I believe we can create a world based in love. But when we're not open to that, we don't say yes to love, then we typically can live in fear, and we create a world that is based in fear. So maybe what we're seeing today is some of the things that have been built from fear, that have been created out of this fearful place, falling apart so that love can come in and recreate something different. But that love can only come through you and me. I love what Richard Rohr says about God being the great allower. Allowing us. Who's in charge? A God out there? Who's in charge of what we create right here? You and I are. And we get to choose. But let's try looking at what's happening in the world around us as a call to love, a cry for love. And if things need to fall away, they just need to fall away. What do we do when we're caught up in the emotional aspects of what's going on in the world out there? Again, feel the feelings. Recognize you're in love, in fear. Give yourself some empathy and compassion. And then extend that to other people as well. Our opportunity to be in that flow of love is to extend that love to everyone. I want to share with you a scripture from Matthew 5, from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Many of you are familiar with it. And this is from, I was looking at different translations of this scripture. And this one spoke to me because it's for sort of a modern language. So this is from the Message translation with a few edits by Rev D. Howe, which would be me. You're familiar with the old written law, love your friend, and its unwritten companion, hate your enemy. I'm challenging that, Jesus says. I'm telling you to love your enemies. Let them bring out the best in you, not the worst. When someone gives you a hard time, respond with the supple moves of prayer. For then you are working out of your true selves, your God-created selves. This is what God does. God gives all. The sun to warm and the rain to nourish to everyone, regardless of who they are or what they believe or how they act or how they think or how they vote or how they pray. If all you do is love the lovable and those who are like you, do you expect a pat on the back? Anybody can do that. If you simply say kind words to those who are kind to you, do you expect a medal? Anyone can do that. In a word, what I'm saying is grow up. You're kingdom's subjects. Now live like it. Live out your God-created identity. Live generously and graciously toward others the way God lives in you. I just love that translation. I think it's fun. It's so real. So the idea is to love other people, especially the people that we think are against us or the people that are enemies. To love people so that you have no enemies. And then mentally, I think taking charge of of the things in the world, how we take charge of ourselves, and the experience of that is to educate ourselves, filling our minds with information, filling our minds with truth, filling our minds about what is really happening in the world, and where we have allowed fear to rule, and how we can come back to love. And then from a physical perspective, there may be things that we can do. There may be things that we need to do. To stand, to speak out, but to stand in love, to stand in peace, not to resist, not to fight against. As Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King exampled for us, to stand in that place of nonviolent resistance, to stand in love, to stand for love, as Jesus taught us to do. It's our opportunity. Yes, there may be things that we are called to do to bring forth love upon the earth. But we will know that as we center ourselves in love. So who's in charge? Who's in charge here? I think the serenity prayer really says it all. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, the wisdom to know that it begins with me, and the wisdom to know what is mine to do in every situation. So, in many ways, in every way, really, you are in charge of you and your experience and your perspective and your attitudes and your responses, and I am in charge of mine. And that's how we can take charge of our own lives in every moment, every moment. So I invite you to play with that this week. Play around with those ideas. See how they work for you, and let me know. Let me know how it goes. Thank you for listening this morning. Now I invite you to take a moment, close your eyes, take a deep conscious breath, breathing into the moment. Breathing into this very moment, letting go of yesterday or tomorrow and just be here now, in this place. Allow the breath to invite your body to relax. Invite the breath to allow your mind and your emotions to surrender, to give over to the flow of life that is happening right here and right now. And just be aware, in this very moment, your emotions, without judging or evaluating, just become aware. Just allowing it to be just as it is. Allowing yourself to be aware of the thoughts that are moving through your mind. Again, no resistance, just allowing everything to be perfect in this moment. And just be present with yourself in this moment, taking charge of your experience, taking charge by noticing the thoughts, noticing and feeling the feelings, taking charge by surrendering and letting go, relaxing into the flow of life, and opening yourself up to the inspiration that moves you in every moment. So as we take a short time in the silence, I invite you to continue to breathe. Focus on breath, relax into breath, allow the breath, and be present in this now moment. And just notice that you're being breathed. Notice that there is a life that is beating your heart. Notice that life is moving through all of the systems of your body, just living without your conscious participation. Life is happening. The universe is flowing, and you're in that flow. As you let go and allow, release the struggle, and simply be. So as you breathe in, invite yourself to come back into the awareness of your body. Allow yourself to feel the energy of life in your body. Breathing all the way down through the bottom of your feet and into the earth, grounding yourself here and now. And when you're ready, just open your eyes and come back into the space where you are as we come together.
I am as God created me. I am a light in this world. I am as God created me. I am, I am, I am. I am as God created me. I am a light in this world. I am as God created me. I am, I am, I am.
So I invite you to take that with you too. I am. I am. The I am as I am created to be. So now is the time in our service where you have the opportunity to give. There are many ways to do that, even though we're not here in person. You'll see that on your screen. So we appreciate all of you who come together to support this ministry. And we know that many of you are giving for the first or second time, and we're so grateful for that. We have so been appreciative of so many people that have been connecting with us since we have been a virtual ministry here. And we're so glad that you chose to be a part of this community in that way, and thank you for your support. So now I invite you to say the offertory blessing with me. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am grateful.
We everywhere we turn. Well, life is gonna change when inside we change and take that journey to the heart. You are my brother and you are my sister. Not one of us can live apart. We are one in the spirit. We are one in this world. We are one in the spirit. Everybody, every soul, everywhere we turn. Involve yourself in, it's time to begin for the healing of this earth. Millions of steps here, millions of feet now can carry everybody to rebirth. Oh, we are one in the spirit. We are one in this world. We are one in the spirit. Everybody, every soul, everywhere we turn. So as you take yourself, give back to someone else. All the nations here belong. Tear down illusion, shore up with truth, till you and I, we sing a worldwide song. We are one in the spirit. We are one in this world. We are one in the spirit. Every woman, every soul, every boy and girl. We are one in the spirit. We are one in this world. We are one in the spirit. Everybody, every soul, everywhere we turn.
Robert Anderson, everyone. Yay, there's some clapping. All right. So thank you again for being here. I want to tell you a few things that are happening coming up pretty soon. Actually, right now, there is a video of our Youth and Family Ministry Director, Natalie Simons, who is doing a children's lesson called Embodying Love. So you might want to check that out either now or later. She does a beautiful job of speaking to our children, and actually they're just as appropriate for us adults as well. Waking Up White, the book by Debbie Irving, is a study that's going to be happening beginning tomorrow evening. Shireen Hill and Trish Morris, our associate minister, will be facilitating that. And you can sign up for that, register for that on our website. There's a link to the registration page on our website. Coming up next Saturday, February 13th, we're doing participating in a collection for veterans who are moving from homelessness into housing, and they need some supplies. And so, again, if you don't get our newsletter, please sign up for that, and there's more information there. And I think there's information on our website, but if not, we can put some information on our website. And the new member class is going to be Saturday, the 20th of February, from, I think we said 9 to 1, but don't quote me on that. And thank you. It is 9 to 1 on Saturday. If you'd like to become a member of Unity Spiritual Center Denver, we do ask that you participate in that class. But you can participate in the class even if you just want more information about Unity, about what we teach, and the foundation of Unity. It's a wonderful opportunity to learn more about that. So we invite you to participate in any and all of those things. So, thank you again for being here this morning with us virtually. We're so glad that you shared part of your day with us and your energy with us and your love with us today. So I invite you now to join me as we say our closing prayer. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is. And so it is. And now join me, if you will, as we sing our closing song, Love Can Move the World. As the moon in the sky moves the sea, love can cause the wars to cease. Love can move this world to peace. It's a tide that begins with you and me. Love can move the world. As the warmth of the sun moves the trees, feel the winds of love increase. As we move this world to peace, come love the world with me. Come love the